I'm Private Frank Biebel, Company H, 4th Regiment, Wisconsin Cavalry, Grand Army of the Republic. I enlisted in the Union Army in August of 1864. I would have enlisted the year before, but I ran all the way from our home to the enlistment center, and when the doctor gave me my physical, he found my heart beating very fast and decided I had a heart problem and wouldn't let me enlist, and I had to wait a whole year. Company H was posted to Louisiana, and we rode picket and scouted and led expeditions throughout Mississippi and Louisiana. And in June of 1865, I was mustered out at the age of 21 and returned to Green Bay. But I was very proud to have fought for the preservation of my country, my new country. You see, I was born in Germany in 1844, and at the age of 3, my mother and father, Ava and Joseph, and my brother Anton and I moved to the United States and to Wisconsin, and we settled on the northeast side of Green Bay. 3 years after my return from the Civil War, 1868, I met the beautiful Margaret and asked her to marry me.
I also came to America at the age of 3 from Germany, and after meeting and marrying this wonderful man, we had 15 children together. Can you imagine that I was changing diapers for nearly 30 years? Sadly, though, we did lose 3 of our children, all around the age of 3, from various childhood illnesses, including our firstborn, Frank Jr. During our lives together, we ran a saloon and a dance hall that was on the northwest corner of East Mason Street and Limekiln Road. We farmed for a number of years, and Frank also worked in a sawmill.
I was an excellent swimmer and a riverman. I drove the logs down the East River to the sawmill, and I rode them so that I could break up any jams that occurred along the way. I was also a volunteer fireman in the Green Bay Fire Department. Franklin Hose Company number 3, that's our station house at Heritage Hill State Park. We only had a hand-drawn fire wagon in those days, no horses, and so when a fire occurred, we had to push that through the streets, and I'm sorry to say that we never got to a fire before it had already gone out. I never had a chance to learn to read or write, no chance for a formal education, but I delivered the mail. I rode between Green Bay and Kewanee on horseback through the woods, and when I got to a location, I'd simply open the mail bag and let people pick out their particular mail. I may not have been able to read or write, but I had an excellent memory, and I knew to the very penny what anybody ever owed me.
In 1875, Frank and I relocated to Kansas. We purchased a farm. We stayed in Kansas about a year, but we didn't do very well there, so we sold that farm for cash. We got on a train heading back to Green Bay, and Frank, do you remember what happened on the way back?
Yes, I fell into a rather long conversation with a gentleman in the car, and when we made one of our stops to load on more fuel and water, he suggested we stretch our legs by continuing our conversation on the station platform. So we went outside and visited some more, and eventually he introduced me to another gentleman. And it wasn't very long into that conversation before that gentleman asked if he might borrow some money from me. I explained to him that I didn't have any cash on me. My wife was carrying all of our cash. And so I said, I'll go in the car and talk to her. And I got in the car and came down the aisle and sat beside my beautiful wife, and we waited until the train left the station, and we left the 2 gentlemen on the platform, and we preserved our money.
Yes, we did, and lucky for us, because returning to Green Bay, we were able to buy back our saloon and our dance hall and our home on the northwest corner of East Mason Street and Limekiln Road, and in fact, all 15 of our children were born in that house. That corner became widely known for miles around as Biebel's Corner, and we had a livery stable, and everybody traveling to Green Bay or through Green Bay, that was the place to stop and get refreshed in the saloon or refresh the horses in the livery stable, and we had many, many people stop there. It was widely known.
The tavern was in the front on the ground floor, and we had a dance hall and our family bedrooms on the 2nd floor.
Do you remember that women never went into the tavern in those days? We had a parlor in our home. They were welcome to come in and sit in the parlor. We also had a room with tables and chairs off the side of the saloon, but women never went into the tavern.
A tavern was a place for men to drink and talk. The upstairs was unheated, and so we slept under feather pillows, and the mattresses were stuffed with corn husks almost a foot thick. The downstairs tavern and the living quarters during the day were heated with a wood stove. We owned a woodlot on Finger Road, and we would cut firewood from the beginning of the summer right on through the fall for those stoves.
In 1897, we purchased a farm, an 80-acre farm in Bellevue on Lime Kiln Road, and we didn't have a silo on that farm. A windmill ran our seed cutter, and anytime we would run low of feed, we would have to go out and cut feed if the wind was blowing, and that would mean any time of day or night. So often that was during the night when the wind was blowing, and that meant getting up all of the children to come and help cut feed. And I don't think they cared for that very much, especially in the frigid winter, but you know, they never complained.
I retired in 1903. Our sons Joseph, Michael, and Edward built us a new home, and we lived there for many years until we decided to move to Crook Street in Green Bay, where we spent the last of our years together. I'm sad to say that the farmhouse and the tavern were later destroyed by fire. As a Civil War veteran, I was honored in many parades and in a position of honor at many events. I lived to the age of 91, and at the age of 90, my son George took me to my first Packers game. And having seen one, I never wanted to see another. I thought it was far too rough, and that they shouldn't allow such a thing, and I couldn't understand why anyone would travel 100 miles or more to see such an event. I died in 1936, and at my death, I was the last veteran of the Civil War in Green Bay, and with me died the Grand Army of the Republic in Green Bay. My dear wife, Margaret, preceded me in death some 12 years, dying in November of 1924. I believed in honesty and fairness all of my life, and I taught that to my children, and they to their children on through the generations. And I'm proud to say those values are still connected with the Biebel name. While I was in the Civil War, my horse was shot out from under me by a bushwhacker, and I was angry. I thought it was deceitful and shameful to fight in such a way, to hide in the bushes. That wasn't honesty or fairness as I saw it. If I had been shot instead of my horse, there would have been far fewer Biebels in Green Bay today. But I'm proud to say we're in our 9th generation as a family, and we have over 400 descendants of Margaret and myself. And I'm proud that I fought for my country as a Civil War veteran.
Thank you for coming to hear our family's story. My name is Jeannie Biebel, and Frank and Margaret Biebel are my great-grandparents. I say that with great pride. And I would like to say I have with me today a picture of Frank in one of his Civil War uniforms. I have his actual discharge form from the Civil War, and I have a family portrait showing Frank and Margaret and all 12 of their children. I would like to thank my aunt, my dad's sister Bernice Biebel Smith, and she's 92 years of age, because she has been documenting our family history and saving photographs her entire lifetime, and it is because of her that we are able to make this reenactment possible. Thank you.